Clerk, please call the roll.
Calling the roll for the Monday, April 29, 2024 Board of Control meeting. It is 11 a.m. We have Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Present.
Trevor Meckler serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones Jr.
Here.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Michael Dever.
Here.
Michael Chambers, fiscal officer, serving as chairman.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the review and the approval of the minutes from April 22nd. I will make the motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our minutes are approved. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Let's go to our first item.
First item, new item for review, BC 2024-309, Department of Public Works submitting an amendment to a loan agreement with Ohio Department of Transportation State Infrastructure Bank for the Royalton Road widening project in the city of North Royalton to replace the terms of Section 1.2 final disbursement date and Article 3, Section 3.9 completion date. No additional funds required, effective upon contract signatures of all parties.
Nicole English with Public Works. This just came to us from the state, making some minor changes to the dates of the completion and the disbursement. Nothing's changing fiscally. They're just updating to accurate dates that go back to 2022.
Thank you, Ms. English. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-310, Department of Public Works submitting an amendment to a contract with Shermer Construction LLC for replacement of Crestwood Lane Culvert Number C-00.24 over a creek to the west branch of Rocky River and Eastwood Lane Culvert Number C-00.08 over a creek to the west branch of Rocky River in Olmsted Township for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $170,964.55.
Nicole English with Public Works again. This is a construction amendment that once they got out in the field, there was two main issues that they had to work on. Additional sanitary sewer that they had to replace that was impacted by the culvert, and then also water lines for both culverts. So this is covering those costs that had to be paid on time and materials per the contract.
Thank you, Nicole. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-311, Department of Public Works submitting an amendment to a contract with WB Mason Company Incorporated for furnishing and delivery of refographics paper to various county departments and agencies for the period May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2024, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $46,000.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This is an amendment to the copy paper contract that we have with WB Mason. We're taking it out 4 months and adding not to exceed dollar amounts. This will give us enough time to rebid the contract.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-312, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Johnson Controls Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for a state contract purchase of fire suppression system parts and maintenance services for the period April 29, 2024 through April 28, 2026, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. This is an award recommendation of Johnson Controls. This is for as-needed fire alarm supplies and services for a 2-year period. The platform's off the state of Ohio contract, and the equipment is like smoke sensors, strobes, pull handles, so it's small equipment that we would purchase as we need them in our county buildings.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-313, Department of Workforce Development submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to EHA Solutions in the amount not to exceed $5,000 for human resources and operational supportive services for organizational restructuring effective upon contract signatures of all parties through July 31st, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Deshaun Matthews, Department of Workforce Development. Under this agreement, EHA Solutions will be assisting us with our department's transition to a nonprofit. She will be assisting us in government's compliance, policymaking, organizational restructuring, training, project management, and other human resource assignments that may include staff recruiting, onboarding, and staff training.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes.
Councilman, please.
When's the current estimate on when the transition to nonprofit status will be completed?
We want to go into effect July 1, the next program year.
July 1 of 2024?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Any additional questions?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion approved, seconded by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-314, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $11,002.27 for a state contract purchase of one each Galaxy Access Control Panel and dual reader module, 4 card readers, and various equipment, installation, and programming services for upgrades to the enterprise network security systems at the Virgil E. Brown Building for the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Child Support Services, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, David DeGrandis from the Department of IT. Some new restrictions or recommendations from the feds and/or state have required child support to secure certain information, and this will aid in that process.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-315, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $62,457.29 for state contract purchase of various equipment, installation, and programming services, 1 video recorder server, 16 surveillance cameras, including licensing and support for upgrades to surveillance equipment located at 1642 Lakeside Avenue, Cleveland, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
David DeGrandis, Department of IT. The current system at the 1642 Lakeside, which is primarily occupied by Public Works, is an old antiquated DVR with analog cameras that some are working, some are not. And due to the operations that they have there, it's necessary to upgrade these cameras to the enterprise class system.
Thank you, David. Questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-316, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $24,737.57 for state contract purchase of one each Fortinet FortiGate firewall and Arista switch, 4 access transceivers, related accessories, installation and programming services, and a 12 one-month A-Care software replacement services for the Cuyahoga County Correction Center, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
David DeGrandis again from IT. Over the last few years, we've been working to establish a separate network for the jail security cameras because of the amount of bandwidth and number of cameras that we have in that facility. This will take pressure off the rest of the network that we that we have in the Justice Center, and due to the number of concomitant users viewing the cameras, we have to increase the 1 gig to a 10 gig firewall to establish this.
Okay, David, thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-317, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Fiscal Office, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Spatalis Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $238,500 for the purchase of annual support and maintenance on the Appraisal S GIS software toolset and CompuPro software hosting services, data updates, support and maintenance for the period September 28, 2023 through September 27, 2026, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. Spatialist is the platform that's one of the tools that's used in all the data analyzation done for comps and research done in appraisal. This was an RFP exemption due to the term dates, but it also, had it not been for the terms, it could have been a sole source with Spatialist being their own product. But the main reason for the date terms is back and forth out of the country on the updates of the certificate of insurance that was required.
Okay, Dennis, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-318, Department of Human Resources, recommending an award and submitting a purchase order with Cleveland State University in the amount not to exceed $32,000 for leadership training for 10 employees for the period May 3rd, 2024 through April 11th, 2025.
Stephen Witt with Human Resources. This is a continuing effort. The county has restarted our participation in the Ohio Certified Public Manager course with Cleveland State. Cleveland State is the only university in the state that's able to offer this program. It is comprised of two parts: the Leadership Academy, which is a 12-month course. The participants meet once a month, both in person and via Microsoft Teams. The second portion, which is not included in here, is the Public Managers Academy, which we have brought previously. This Leadership Academy cohort consists of 10 county employees, as well as a variety of other local counties, as well as state employees that participate in this program. It's for emerging and current leaders to gain the skills for leadership in a public entity setting.
Let the record reflect that Catherine Gallagher, serving as an alternate for Chris Renee County Executive, is now present.
Has the 10th person been selected yet?
Yes, the 10th person is a member of IT.
Okay. Great. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
Yes, I have a question. What skills in particular are emphasized and are being developed?
For that, I will welcome our Director of Organizational Employee Development, Alita Moonen.
Leadership as a skill set comprises a number of things, particularly in the areas of communication, in the areas of motivating people, supporting people, and it's a program where it's a separate skill set as opposed to knowing how to do your job really well. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to be a leader, and it focuses in on that. A lot of it has to do with communication, understanding styles, managing styles, etc.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Additional questions? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-319, is being corrected to read in its entirety. Department of Law submitting amendments to contracts with Matrix Point Software LLC on the Matrix Civil Electronic Document and Records Management System for the period March 1st, 2014 through February 28, 2024, to extend the time period to February 28, 2025, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $34,440 for maintenance and support in the amount not to exceed $23,700, data hosting services in the amount not to exceed $10,740.
This is Jared Zabrotowski from the Law Department. This is our practice management software. We're renewing it for 1 year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yes, I have a question. The original description only had the one item, the 23 10,700. What's the reason why these additional items showed up?
Sure. It's not actually an additional item. The contract as originally executed probably about 10 years ago comprised 4 different portions of the work that Matrix would do. We have been going forward with 2, which is the data hosting and the maintenance and support. They've been divided, each of these 4 little parts have been divided up into their own. And when it was entered into the system, it was entered in incorrectly by the law department. We should have had 2 different items because there are 2 different amendments. We're just trying to put them through. We can't do one without the other, but I think going forward, we would divide these up into 2 items for the Board of Control.
And they did have 2 contracts in there, but they were labeled, and I didn't notice that there were 2 of them, so they did present 2. It was just that I didn't catch it in the caption, the way the briefing memo and everything was written, so.
The very end of the revised presentation, it had a 3rd item for 10,000 something. What's the deal with that?
That's always been a part of it. Again, the maintenance and support is $23,700. That's one of the amendments. The second is for the data hosting. That's for $10,740.
So the first item, the first number you gave was the total amount, is that correct?
Correct.
The $34,440 is the total of both, yes.
Okay, fine, okay. Okay, thank you, that helps.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve the item as amended. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved as amended. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-320, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division submitting an amendment to a contract with UKG Cronus Systems LLC, formerly known as Cronus Incorporated, for maintenance and software support services on the Comprehensive Human Resources Management System for the period April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2025, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $48,056.78.
Good morning, Chair, Juvenile Court. This is Juvenile Court's HR management and payroll contract. So we did, at the suggestion of the board, issue an RFP last year of the 2 proposals that we received. None of them met our specifications and they were outside of our budget. So we have since decided to go with M4, but M4 has given us a transition period of at least 9 months. So this amendment is to get us through that transition period.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item?
Yes.
Councilman.
Am I correct that we're no longer using Kronos for executive agencies that have been on the ERP for some time?
They are punching clocks, but I don't know if that's Kronos or not.
I thought those had been integrated.
They might, yeah.
It was through the MyTime system, or we can verify that.
Yeah, I
for
don't
sure.
know for sure, yeah. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Any additional questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-321, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division recommending an award and enter into an agreement with City of Bedford Heights in the amount not to exceed $2,700 for community diversion program services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Juvenile Court, again, this is one of our community diversion program contracts. It is, I believe, these are for 1 year, and this is with the City of Bedford Heights, and this is now funded from the HHS levy funds.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
It's routine. I'll move approval.
Moved and approved. Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-322, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Trinity Services Group Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $12,711.83 for purchase of food and related services for 2024 National Correctional Officers Week and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. This is going to be, allow us to order food and other food-related items for our correction officers that are working for Corrections Week.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Councilman, please.
What's the current status of rebidding the overall food services contract for the jail?
We are going out for an RFP the next couple weeks, yes.
And how many vendors do we think are out there that could possibly bid on this contract?
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Right now, we identified at least 6 vendors that we put on the list and to make contact with.
Okay, I hope we get more competition than we've seen in the last couple of rounds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, how many years are we going out to bid for? What's the proposal?
3.
Okay, any final questions? Okay, with that being said, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Just a quick update, there is nobody on Kronos. We've just been told.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-323, correcting to read the funding source. Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to BRM Ohio Management LLC, DBA The Family Pet Clinic, and the amount not to exceed $15,000 for emergency and routine veterinary services for the Correction Officers K-9 unit for the period April 29, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption. And the funding source is changed from general fund to commissary funds.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. This will allow our canine handlers from our jail to take the dogs to the vet for any emergency or medical services.
Thank you, Chris. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve the item as amended for the funding source commissary funds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-324, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Symbol Arts LLC in the amount not to exceed $5,731.70 for the purchase of 710 See Something, Say Something coins for the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center to promote suspicious activity reporting and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. The See Something, Say Something campaign is a federal Homeland Security initiative that looks to promote suspicious activity reporting to deter terrorist acts and activity. The Fusion Center regularly goes out to meet with public and private sector partners to discuss what they do and the importance of this type of reporting, and these coins will be used to support those efforts. The reason for the justification is that Homeland Security had already worked with the state of Vermont to create the coins for them, and the copyright to have purchased that would have cost us $2,000. So the request is to go with the vendor that did the Vermont coins. This purchase has been approved at every level by both FEMA, the Ohio Department of Emergency Management, and the Fusion Center.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank
Next
you.
item. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2024-325, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, submitting an amendment to a master contract with various providers for the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025, to amend the terms of Exhibit 2 budget effective upon contract signatures of all parties, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $164,000 as listed for items A and B on the printed agenda.
Good morning, Kathleen Stewart from Family Children First Council. This is a contract with for our teen pregnancy prevention program. I mistakenly put in the dollar amount for 1 year and spread it out for 2 years, and it really should have been double that amount for the 2 years. So this is to correct the actual contract dollar amount.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Moving on to exemptions.
Exemption first item BC 2024-326, Medical Examiner's Office recommending to amend Board Approval Number BC 2021-333 dated July 6, 2021, which authorized an alternative procurement process which resulted in award recommendations to various providers, items A through E as listed on the printed agenda, and the total amount not to exceed $375,000 for outside toxicology testing services for the period June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to May 31st, 2027, and to add one new provider, Ambry Genetics Corporation, effective April 29, 2024. No additional funds required.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. These are services for testing that we can't do in-house. We used to do a lot more. We've increased our capabilities with purchases of equipment and developing new methodologies, but there are still some things that we need to send out. We're adding Ambry Genetics. They do genetic cardiac testing for us, which we can't do, and those are very specific and complicated tests. So we need them occasionally when there are genetic factors leading to the cause of death that can also be helpful in family members getting their own testing done.
Thank you, Hugh. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda.
Consent agenda items are BC 2024-327 through BC 2024-329.
Okay, board members, just a couple items. Feel free to ask any questions. Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The items are approved. Moving on to other business.
No other business?
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?